days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. 49ers got a big victory Sunday, Alex.
It's true. A big victory leading us into the game against the Big V's and the Vikings. That one got it there. It did.
The Big V's.
The Big V's, the Minnesota Vikings. I guess people could take that another way. I'm assuming that there's some of the fan base who probably heard some of that was like, whoa, guys, this is a pretty good football team. And you're right, the Minnesota Vikings are a pretty good football team. But let's focus on the recap of the 49ers at the Jacksonville Jaguars, because that's the game we're here to recap and talk about. And what a game it was, and what an absolute performance from this 49ers team. Comes out again for the second straight week to open up a game and basically eats up the entirety of the first quarter, 18-plus play drive again for the 49ers. Pushes it down the field. I think the only thing we would have enjoyed more is a 49ers capping it off with a touchdown, which they almost did. And some of the fan base is a little upset about this. I saw immediately after the missed pass to Jeff Wilson on Facebook. I hopped onto Facebook real quick. I got to see the overreactions. What an absolute bum. Can't even complete a pass to a guy 3 yards in space. And it's like, guys, calm down. First and foremost, he's throwing it into the open space. He's trying to throw it around a defender who's jumping. There's a defensive lineman jumping in the air, straight up, hands up. So he's throwing it outside in the open space where he knows Jeff Wilson is running to. Jeff Wilson hesitates a little bit, expecting Jimmy to just throw it to him at that spot because there's no one around Jeff Wilson for 50 yards if he's lucky. It's just
50?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm being dramatic and a little bit over the top with
Considering
this.
the field is just over 50 yards wide, yes.
Correct, and also that they were at the 2 at the time. So let's say 50 feet. Definitely wasn't 50 feet. But look, the point is
Maybe
that
you should turn to the metric system.
need to learn my distances, yardsticks and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
But Jeff Wilson is definitely wide open. Jeff Wilson is also shaking some of the rust off and the lack of chemistry that there may be with Jimmy Garoppolo, having not played with Jimmy in, I don't know, roughly 2 years. It's been a while since Jeff Wilson been on the field at the same time as Jimmy Garoppolo playing consistent snaps. Unfortunate situation, but it happens. The 49ers put points up on the board anyway, and it doesn't end up having too much of a negative impact on the 49ers.
No, I mean, I could sit here and talk about some of the miscues, but I'm going to talk about some of the positive in this game. And one of that is the fact that, if you defer the football to the 49ers in the first half, you might not see it till the second quarter. That is what is happening with the San Francisco 49ers right now, is they're just completely dominating their opening drive on offense. And it's a far cry from what we saw in the middle part of this season, where they were struggling a little bit with the first drive. Now they're getting after it. They're establishing a physical nature of football, a style that can't be duplicated by many teams in this league. Not anyone can just come out there and execute like this, and not many have a quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo that can consistently convert on 3rd and 4th down. That is what's been big for San Francisco, is timely 3rd down conversions. You can't run this style unless you have a quarterback that can win in those situations. The 49ers have a quarterback that can do that right now. So if you want to call him a game manager, you want to call him, a bottom 15 quarterback in this league, that is fine. What he is right now is a quarterback that is leading the 49ers on a charge to win football games. And Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniel's creativity in the run game has been executed at a very high level. And the way they're able to, maneuver and use these guys to block and help other guys block, moving running backs and getting them on wing positions and good personnel groupings, it has been so fun to watch. This style of offense is fun to watch. It's something I'm very favorable to. As a coach, it's a similar style to what I enjoy seeing, a smash mouth style of football.
Hold on a second. You, as a coach, ran a smash mouth style of football that I was completely opposed to when I first started coaching with you, until I saw the level of intricacy and execution was like, hey, I actually like this a lot more.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. When you can execute the run game at a high level, it is something that just won't go away.
Nope.
And it just keeps grinding on you. And you saw Jacksonville. I know that it's a controversial situation where Kyle Shanahan doesn't go for it on that 4th down. And hindsight being 2020, great call by Kyle Shanahan, because they got, a field goal. I think everyone was kind of questioning, because we have that faith now in that run game, and then Jimmy Garoppolo to get that conversion. But you seen Jacksonville was like almost like a sigh of relief, because they knew they were on skates and there was no way they were going to be able to stop this football team. And the fact that there was the 3-and-out that came out right after that, and the 49ers went and took care of business again, just completely deflated them. It took any hopes and chances that they had against the San Francisco team, because they knew they were in the ring with a bully, and they were getting absolutely bullied, and there was nothing they could do about it. So they went to fetal position and hung out as long as they could.
Correct. And when you're playing that physical, the way the 49ers are, and I saw a lot of people talking about how, well, the Niners only got lucky because they got bailed out with some calls. And it's like, well, look, when you're that physical and you're that aggressive and you're pressing on a team that much, teams start getting desperate. Teams start getting to a point where they feel they've been pushed around. And you know what? We need to push back a little bit. Jenkins is all over Kittle on that route. From the time he's at the line of scrimmage to the time they release, he never gets his hands off of him. So the fact that that call comes in that situation is not a surprise to me, because we've been seeing that call get called against San Francisco all season long. This is something that we've seen consistently. If you're going to be that handsy at the line of scrimmage and a guy is going to get a pretty clean release despite the handsiness, you're going to get a call. And George Kittle is getting pulled on the entire way, and it leads to positive things for the 49ers. Juwan Jennings, a few drives later, Jacksonville's defense can't get off the field. Juwan Jennings has been a physical blocking threat for the 49ers. Well, guess what? He's going to put Jenkins down on the ground and then going to go to the ground with him. And that's going to piss Jenkins off a little bit. And guess what happens? He rips his helmet off, then takes a shot at his face. And now your starting safety and a captain on your defense is gone and out. I wonder why that is. It's not because, the 49ers aren't throwing the football. It's not what it is. Last week with Jalen Ramsey, people, Jalen Ramsey's upset because they're not throwing. Yeah, that's that to an extent. But you know what also it is? He also realizes that the Rams aren't doing anything to put the Niners in passing situations. So now his impact on the game is limited because, they don't have to. Why would they throw the ball? They don't have to throw the ball. Janoris Jenkins is sitting here going, it doesn't seem to matter where I'm at on the field. I can't help in the run. I can't help in the pass game. We're just getting beat in every facet. There's nothing I can do. And now you're getting put on the ground by a second-year wide receiver who was on the practice squad last year and people didn't think was going to make the roster. Jenkins looking at Juwan Jennings going, this dude's a nobody, and yet you're getting bullied by a nobody guy. You're on the ground because of a nobody. When you're playing this type of physical football, when you're dominating and controlling at the point of attack, teams are going to feel like they're gasping for air. And every time they come up and gasp for air, they're just going to start flailing because they need to try and hit something. They need to try and grab a hold of something. They need to feel like they're doing something. And when you got guys doing that, you're going to start making irrational, poor choices and poor decisions. And that means you're now fully not only in control of the game, but you're in their headspace.
Yeah, they're playing reactionary. Now they're reacting to everything you do. You're imposing your will. You are moving them off their spots consistently. You are making them feel like they have no opportunity to stop you. So it's not a game of chess anymore. Now it's just a game of we're all going to move and just run you over. It is a tank versus a Mazda Miata. Someone's going to win, and that's what happened in this. Jacksonville was the Mazda Miata, and they were getting absolutely ran over with the firepower that Kyle Shanahan has. And that's exactly what we wanted him to do. I mean, all during the offseason, right? Twitter was all about bully ball. 49ers bully ball.
Got a bully.
Oh, and you know what we've gotten to? We've gotten to bully ball. And Kyle Shanahan is completely running people over. It's just he had to find the way to do it. And the way it was to be able to attack the edge, set the edge, and then when they had to overcompensate for that, then to gash them in other areas. You've seen the wash go through, and you've seen Jeff Wilson Jr. struggle to get there a little bit. But once he got there, he got up that lane and had a nice gain. Those opportunities are there consistently in this offense, and they're going to consistently be there even more because you see all the pre-snap movement. These linebackers have to fly across the formation to have any chance of stopping the 49ers at the point of attack. And if they don't, they're going to gash them. And now that they do start flying, you're going to catch them in situations where you can go back against the grain and have big hole shot plays as well. This is one of those things about the run game. The run game never quits. The pass game can come and go. But the run game never quits when you execute at this level. It's good to see the 49ers execute at this level because it's a formula for success for winning football games for the rest of the season, winning football games in the playoffs because you win it with great run game, great defense, and winning the turnover battle consistently. And they did that today. And forcing the other team to make mistakes. Remember, does that mean the 49ers were a couple mistakes away, penalty-wise, from winning football games? If that's all it is? Because sometimes you get forced into making mistakes. So I do like how the 49ers are playing right now, and they are forcing other teams to make a mistake. You have to play perfect to beat them, and if you don't, they're going to continue to move the football, and that's a good situation to be in.
It's a great situation to be in, and it's an incredible situation to be in. You're not wrong, and this is, again, a testament to where we've been at and where the Cutback crew has been at, because a lot of the people who have been on board with us since day one, since the start of the year, that aren't newer subscribers to the channel, the new people, welcome, and we're glad that you found us, and we're glad that you found this perspective on San Francisco. You probably would feel a lot better about this football team if you had been here since the start of the year, where we kept saying, yeah, we get it. Hey, we get it. You're frustrated. We understand the frustration because we feel it too. And the team feels it also. But the reality is that this team has been in positions to win every game that they've been in this year, and it's just been a lack of execution. One guy making a mistake, two guys making a mistake, a few guys not holding on to the football when they should, guys missing reads that are wide open that they shouldn't miss, and whether that be Trey Lance, whether that be Elijah Mitchell early in the season on some runs, Trey Sermon when he touches the football, Jimmy Garoppolo in space. It doesn't matter who it is. There's always been a couple of guys, a handful of guys each and every game that make one mistake at the wrong time that sets this team back. They've learned from those mistakes. These players have learned from the faults of the past and have now course corrected and started executing in those situations. And a lot of it is right. Early in the season, we kept hearing Jimmy talk about, Kyle talk about, Alex Mack talk about. We're seeing things with fronts that we've never seen before. We're seeing teams do stuff we've never seen before. We're trying to figure this out. They're trying to figure out the best way to go about attacking it. Well, I think the 49ers have now figured out what these fronts are, what teams are trying to do, and the best way to go about attacking it. They've executed it now each and every week consistently. And now you had a week where you didn't have your number one running back in Elijah Mitchell. And yes, the run game didn't have the same sort of impact in terms of like some of the bigger gashes that we've seen Elijah Mitchell have consistently.
Are you sure? Because every time Deebo had it, it felt like it was a gash play.
Correct. You are correct, Ant. But he didn't have 15 or 16 of those. He had like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
But that was the difference, right? You didn't see a longevity of them, like double-digit gash runs. But what you saw was 3, 4, 5 yards at a time, 3, 4, 5 yards at a time, 3, 4, 5 yards at a time. And as you taught me so well, Alex, doesn't matter if it's 3 yards. 4 3-yard carries is a first down, my guy. And when I was a young man, I see 3 yards and feel like, man, that's a scrap. I need to get that off the play sheet. And you're like, no. 3 yards is exactly where you want to be. Because if you get 3 more of those, the first down. And if a team can't consistently prevent you from getting 3 yards, then you can do whatever you want to them all game long. And that's what the 49ers did today.
Yeah, 100%. They came out and they established this run game early and often, and they got after them in a big way. And that's what we needed the 49ers to do. I mean, this is a tried and true formula they're going to be able to execute all season. They're going to have to keep coming up with creative ways. You see the way that these other teams are now bringing up multitude of players on the outsides and being like, okay, you can't run that sweep toss against us. You can't do that action because you're absolutely gashing people with it. And you saw it was a little bit handcuffed with Jeff Wilson Jr. compared to Elijah Mitchell, and Trey Sermon doesn't have the speed to get out there either. That's why I joked during the week that we see Trenton Cannon before we saw Trey Sermon because of the outside game being so important. So it's going to be fun to watch to see how these teams continue to try to figure out what Kyle Shanahan is doing and what Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniel draw up. The mad scientists get together and come up with plays to be able to execute and use their talent. And they're figuring out the best way to use their weapons. But now, Alex, we're going on 2 games in a row where they've scored 30 points, at least 30 points in a game. So this offense is starting to click and fire on all cylinders. That's what we needed.
Yes, you 100% needed it, and the 49ers got it. Kyle Shanahan has got this team dialed in. Jimmy Garoppolo is allowing this team to execute it, whether it's canning, killing, or Oscaring. He's
Flipping
doing it.
Play the other side,
yeah, Oscar flipping it. It's absolutely incredible to watch. But some of that comes down to our key matchups and what the Niners needed to do offensively. And mine was the right tackles versus Josh Allen and whoever would end up being on the edge rushing presence, linebacker presence. Didn't matter who it was over there on that right side. You need your right tackles to execute. And we got to see both. We got to see Jalen Moore. You got to see Tom Compton. Both guys going in there and executing at a pretty fair clip. Not a lot of pressures coming off of that right side other than the miss early in the game from Jalen Moore on what ended up being the holding call out on space against George Kittle that ended up extending the drive anyway, where Jalen Moore is coming inside for whatever reason. There's an outside late rusher from a linebacker, and he tries to get out late, but he just doesn't recognize, he doesn't diagnose it. So some good things from them there. Not a lot of pressure from Jimmy, but more pressure, I think, than we've seen in the last few weeks. But Jacksonville was sending a lot of pressure. They wanted to get after Jimmy Garoppolo. They didn't want him to have a lot of time. They tried to, get him in and out of his reads quickly, get the ball, force him to get the ball out of his hands by bringing a lot of pressure, something we've seen. And Jimmy did fine. I mean, he did great today. Again, 17 completions, I think on 23 or 24 attempts for almost 180 yards and 2 tutties.
Yeah, like 180. It was.
Yeah.
Overall, it was a good performance from him, and he executed on the plays that he needed to execute. I mean, the very first pass of the game, he gets the ball out to George Kittle, but he's got a little bit of pressure. The plays where he throws it, the high arcing ball to Trey Sermon, he's got pressure in his face. These are situations that he's, being able to handle and navigate through. But I also saw some good, blitz pickups from some of these running backs. Jeff Wilson Jr. did a nice one on a half roll that Jimmy Garoppolo had. There was another situation where we saw Kyle Juszczyk motion into the backfield and then pick up somebody in the middle of the defense. Those are all big plays and giving Jimmy Garoppolo the ability to get his feet set and get the ball down the field. So it's enjoyable. My offensive key matchup was the 49ers versus the Blueprint. And really what I wanted them to do was stick with the game plan that they had against the Rams. I know it's going to change a little bit, but I'm talking run first, establish yourself, go on long drives, and then execute, have Jimmy Garoppolo convert on these 3rd and 4th downs, which he did consistently. And they stuck with the blueprint, and it worked out to a T. They didn't turn the ball over, which is now 2 weeks in a row that they haven't turned the ball over. And then they created turnovers on the other side. But the blueprint is run the ball, convert 3rd down, don't turn over the ball, use the clock, make sure you win time of possession. And if you do, you have a really good chance to win the football game.
Accurate, Ant. Very accurate. And yeah, the blueprint has been wonderful the last few weeks. Their recognition of the blueprint, right? Finding it in the pile of everything that 49ers can do, realizing that this is your best chance right now. This is who you are at this point in time, and being able to not only scheme it up, but then be able to go do it at this type of level, play this physical. During our reaction show, a lot of the Cutback crew was talking about, Jacksonville, injuries, tons of injuries. When you're playing a team that's playing this physical, is this dominating, that's doing these types of things to you on both sides of the ball, constant pressure, constant pushing, you're going to wear down. Teams are going to wear down. And yes, the 49ers have the ability to wear down as well. That is 100% possible. We see what happened to Elijah Mitchell last week. Everyone worried about, not Trey Sermon, but worried about Jeff Wilson Jr. and the knee, and can that hold up and sustain? Can George Kittle stay healthy for the whole year doing these types of things? Can Deebo stay? I think the only good news is right now for the 49ers is you got a nice little mixture in the backfield. You now have Deebo that can do stuff. You have Kyle Juszczyk that can do stuff. You have Jeff Wilson Jr. who can do stuff. And you have Elijah Mitchell. And I think part of the reason why they kept Elijah Mitchell back this game is they thought they could do enough in the game with both Jeff Wilson and with Deebo Samuel back there that you didn't have to have Elijah Mitchell go out there and play through this week. You can rest him, make sure he's good to go, and use him when you really truly need him, which is next week against the Minnesota Vikings, where you're going to need that ground attack to really, really, push and stifle this Minnesota Vikings, this team in Minnesota, a team that has been very susceptible to run games. We saw the Seattle Seahawks game early in the year where Seattle ran the football all over them. A lot of the teams that have had success against Minnesota have had success running the football. So having an Elijah Mitchell next week was going to be more important than playing Jacksonville this week and trying to get it done with a mixture backfield or a makeshift backfield with Jeff Wilson Jr., Trey Sermon for extended bits of time, and Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Minnesota is going to be a different animal than we saw at Jacksonville. What Jacksonville was all predicated on stopping the run. If you could stop the run, then you were going to put Trevor in situations where he had to, make great plays, and at times he did. But on that first drive, he took a shot down the sideline, great coverage. Emmanuel Mosley down the sideline a couple times, great coverage. So the 49ers defensive back showed up in a big way in this game, and I mean that's what happens when you're getting to this. But in our defensive key matchups, my defensive key matchup was about Trevor, and it was this 49ers pass rush versus Trevor. And it was about terrorizing Trevor, and I thought early in the game they really didn't have to. It didn't seem like Jacksonville had any opportunities. You had the 3-and-out where he gets the ball down the sideline, and there was a blitz coming. He had to get rid of it. He thought he had man coverage, which he did, but he made an errant throw. You get off the field the next series, you get the ball out really quickly to Laviska Shenault, and he fumbles. So there was just not a lot of opportunities for Trevor with the ball. Did I think he avoided the pass rush at times? Yes. But you saw as the game got into the fourth quarter, the 49ers got after him even more. Ebukam getting hits on him. Nick Bosa getting hits and sacks on him. Arden Key getting to him. So it was a good situation for the 49ers. I feel like the 49ers got to him when they needed to. There just wasn't enough situations for them to overwhelmingly get to him. There wasn't enough snaps. They stiffened up when they need to. They played the run excellent. So I was excited about the game plan, excited about how this front played against this Jacksonville offensive line. And really, I think they kept Trevor just enough off balance where he had to rely on his legs. And when he couldn't, then they got stops.
And that's what you needed to do today. You had to get stops in this game on Sunday. You had to find a way to get stops, find a way to get them off the field when you needed to, but keep Trevor uncomfortable. Part of keeping Trevor uncomfortable also, it played in with the offense. Being on the field for so long, Trevor having to stand there for as long as he had to stand there and watch that happen. He's probably never experienced anything like that before in his entire playing career. Being on the sideline for that long, waiting to get out there to get a snap. And when you finally do, you go out there and you're off the field in 3 plays, and the 49ers are driving again, and the 49ers are putting points on the board. You come out, run one play, It's a fumble. 49ers are putting even more points on the board. And it's like, What just happened? But for me, the key matchup was going to be the 49ers run defense, right? Stopping James Robinson, the linebacking core, locking it down. And they did it without Dre Greenlaw.
Yeah.
Something that I was convinced, if you don't have Dre out there, I'm a little worried because I've seen some of the run fits. This is a talented team in terms of having the pieces to execute the run game. And James Robinson, a very talented running back, didn't seem to matter. We saw Marcel Harris back into the fold today, executing at a very high level. One of the run plays to the outside, it's to James Robinson, where he's getting around the edge. And Marcel Harris comes screaming through, takes an inside lane, wraps him up for a 2-yard gain when he had a lot of space out in front of him. It was like, hey, MH, nice to see you, my guy. Good on you. He looked a lot better today than we've seen in the past. Is that because Jacksonville was absolutely terrible? Or is it because he's healthy and has had even more time to get familiar and comfortable with the system? I don't know what it is, but I like seeing it out of Marcel Harris. I'm more excited, though, to see Dre Greenlaw back into the fold. 49ers being very cautious about letting him get out there too early. But the linebackers did what they needed to do today. The 49ers offense helped the defense by being able to keep their offense off the field, really put the pressure on them and score. And then the defense gets off the field early, gets a timely turnover, and now the running game opportunities kind of go out the window because you need to push the ball downfield and you need to try and get quick scores if you're Jacksonville.
Yeah, 100%. That's part of the reason. You're able to be aggressive as a defensive player because you're not worried about, one big play, killing you, tying this game up. You're able to be aggressive. But on that particular play you're talking about with Marcel Harris, there's pre-snap movement. He was moving, the linebackers were moving. So his window that opened is a little bit closer to where he's able to get downhill and get after that guy. Because for those of you who don't know, as the linebackers are moving, windows in the offensive line are going to open or in the blocking game, and that's where you can go through. Those are your creases to be able to go into the backfield or down the line of scrimmage to be able to make a play. Marcel Harris read his. He had the cutback lane, and he knew that he could go ahead and make the play on that. It was very well executed. Big-time play by him. And it was a lot of good linebacker play. Fred Warner also stepped up in a big way today. Al-Shaair had a couple timely hits, a little bit more quiet from him. But the reason is because there's not very many opportunities in the run game. They were taking away screen passes. Nick Bosa sitting on them, in this game. So I thought that the 49ers overall defense it looked like they had Jacksonville figured out. They had their number. And once they were playing from a point of power where they had a lead, Jacksonville just could never get anything going. The 49ers felt comfortable the entire game. This is about as close as you can get to cruise control as I've seen in a while.
Absolutely. And it was necessary. It was needed. This defense needs to have these moments right now where they put together dominant performances like that because it gives them confidence to build off those types of performances, build off what they're seeing, trust their eyes, trust their preparation, how they're preparing, and then focus in on even more detail, right? Because if you have an idea of the things that work that you keyed in on, the next week they can carry over into film. Well, we keyed in on these things. Now we're going to shift our attention to this team, this scheme, and these things with this key in this scheme. And it allows them to dive even more into the film and become even more engaged in what they're seeing. Because, well, number one, we just did something. It worked. It worked at an extremely high level. All right, let's build off that now. Let's do it to an even bigger degree if we can and see if we can't come out and stifle these guys from start to finish.
Yeah, it's all about execution on every single play of every single game. You're just trying to execute the best that you can, make the plays that you're supposed to make and do your job.
Mm-hmm.
And early on in this season, the 49ers had players that were trying to make plays that were outside, their scope and what they were supposed to do. And now they're going back to playing their roles, and you're seeing guys that are stepping up and making those plays, and there's a trust between players that I know I don't have to be there for every play because these guys are going to make their play. And when you have that trust and you have that confidence in each other, then it changes the way that you play football games. So this is a growth of this football team. They've definitely had a little bit of a battle, but now they're battle tested, and they're ready to take on the second half of the season. And I'm excited about it because you see the improvement in the game. And I understand that they should beat Jacksonville because Jacksonville's not as good a football team. But there's been games in the past where the 49ers played teams where they were supposed to beat like this because they're not as good, and it would have been like 17-10. But it wasn't. The 49ers were up 30-3 in this game, and really they were in cruise control the whole time. And that proves that not only are they a better football team, but they played better. And that's the key. So going out there and playing these football teams, you have to play up to your expectations, not the expectations of the team that you're playing.
And the best part is that Kyle Shanahan gets all the young guys in at the end of the game. So now everyone who needs to find something to complain about, good luck. Have fun.
Oh, no, still, yeah. Still.
I mean, listen, they will, right? They will. But you were already grasping for straws, calling for the young guys to play. And anyone going, why couldn't they have done that last week? Well, Drake Kirkpatrick was on the roster last week.
Well, I think there's also, you're looking for situations to put them in where they can be somewhat successful while also giving them experience and putting film on. But there is a definite push. I don't know why. Even David Lombardi brought this up this week on Twitter, is that for some reason, more than I believe any other fan base, 49ers fans really want their rookies to play.
Doesn't make any sense, man.
I just want to win. And if a rookie is the best player that he can play, then he'll play.
Correct.
If not, then I want whoever's, the
next guy,
whoever the veteran is to play. This is no different than when I coach, and that's the only thing I understand. I don't understand playing someone because they need to develop. No. They develop along the way, and then when they're ready, they're going to play. That's the only way I understand. It's the only way I'll probably ever understand. Nothing else makes sense. The best player plays. It's that simple.
That's how it works. Ant. But again, coaching mindset, some people just a fan mindset and wanting a new toy and wanting to use it and play with it, even if it doesn't work properly. Batteries aren't quite in it yet. You haven't read the instruction manual. You don't know necessarily how the thing works, but you know it's shiny, it's new, it looks cool, and let me press buttons now and let it go boop, 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 and make noise.
A nice analogy. I mean, everyone wants to see the new players play. I know I do. I want to see Trey Lance eventually. I know right now that he's not the best option. So when it's the time, there's going to be a lot of optimism and there's going to be a lot of belief in what he can do.
True.
But we're going to have to see that development. But it's one of those things where, of course, everyone wants to play with the new toy. The thing is, can you wait until it has the most value? And that's what it's about. Whenever you keep these toys, we talked about this before. Whenever you keep these toys, sealed up, they gain value. And so these guys are gaining value right now. And when they're able to, be opened up and able to play, they're going to be very good.
Extremely good, and I'm really looking forward to that. We need to talk about players on the defensive side of the ball first. We just got done talking about the defense. Let's stay with the defense. We need to talk about the defensive players who made it so that it was so hot down in Jacksonville that Trevor Lawrence was sweating bullets. Laviska Shenault fumbling footballs, and the Jacksonville Jaguars offense being absolutely stifled. It's time for our Block is Hot defensive players of the game.
All right, it's time for the Block is Hot defensive player of the game, and the defensive player of the game for me is the 49ers offense. The 49ers offense is able to keep the defense off the field. They're able to keep the Jaguars offense off the field and put themselves in situations to be successful. Those long drives make it easy for this defense. They're fresh. They're able to fly around. So today, the 49ers offense, Kyle Shanahan really gets the game ball as far as defense goes. So, yeah, the Block is Hot defensive player of the game, 49ers offense.
Took me by surprise. That is a really good one, Ant. But I am going to actually go with the defensive player who helped it make it so that the Niners could get up early, right? They could get up early and enjoy the fruits of the 49ers offense and allow them the opportunity to have the ball for so long and run. I think it was 38 plays to Jacksonville's 4 or 6 at one point, whatever it was. At one point of the game, too, Jacksonville with 4 first downs and 3 points, and the 49ers had 21 first downs. Never thought I'd see that stat in my entire life, but I did. And I thank the 49ers defense for it, and I got to thank Fred Warner for it because he was second in the entire game in solo tackles at 4, and that's despite the fact that Jacksonville Jaguars at one point had 38 plays run against them defensively. 38. He finishes with 7 tackles on the game, and a lot of Jacksonville guys end up having a lot more tackles than Fred Warner through this game, and I just can't figure out why that could be, but Fred Warner was flashing, recovered a fumble today, so everyone who's been getting upset with Fred for not securing fumbles, he secured one today. He was making timely stops. He was flashing in space. Coverage was tight. I'm looking forward to the All-22 film and watching this and watching how well Fred played today because for the first time all game, I cannot recall moments where Fred Warner was playing out of position. There were a lot more opportunities for him to play in his natural spot at middle linebacker, and he thrived because of it today.
Oh, 100%. I mean, he thrives when you put him in good situations to be successful. And he was flashing today. He was making solo tackles. He was meeting running backs in the hole. When it was time for him to be in the spots he was, I thought he was flying around. And I thought overall it was a good defensive performance, top to bottom. It seemed like everyone was working together. Once again, Josh Norman causes a turnover, and he punches it out. So he's making an impact on this team. We can talk about his coverage isn't always the most solid. But he is adding something to this football team because getting the ball onto the ground, and especially a situation like that where Laviska Shenault puts it on the ground and then Fred Warner recovers, is a huge momentum push in this game and completely takes this game from 49ers in control to 49ers are complete overdrive and just rolling on you. So I liked it. I like the situation, and I like what Josh Norman's bringing in that area. And shocking, once Jimmy Ward and Jaquiski Tartt and these guys are back, that Josh Norman is smiling and having a good time and playing his best football because he doesn't have to get in his head. He's not the leader of this football team. We don't want him to be the leader of this football team, and those guys are going to keep him in check.
They are. They absolutely are. And also, know what I love seeing? I love seeing Jaquiski Tartt and Jimmy Ward in situations where they matched up in man and they brought Talanoa Hufanga on the field, take a linebacker off, and you're rolling with 3 safeties.
Yeah, I love it.
Absolutely love it.
I mean, that's what they want to do, right? That was the evolution of what they were doing in this defense. And once Tartt went out, then Huff was playing all those snaps. So yeah, they're better together. All 3 of them is a better situation than what we have right now.
Because they're brothers.
Yeah, and we're gonna have Dre Greenlaw back here pretty soon. Maybe just in time for Minnesota, so that's exciting.
That's extremely exciting, and I'm really looking forward to that. But yes, tip my hat to the 49ers offense for, basically helping the defense and
being the defensive player of the game.
Basically. And then also tip my hat to Fred Warner. Bosa, obviously, you can throw him into that conversation as well. And how about Trent Sherfield, man? Flying downfield.
Special teams play, yeah.
Him and Trenton Cannon did absolutely fantastic today. There was one of them where Trenton Cannon off the snap to Wisniewski is past his guy in like 15 yards downfield. And I'm like, well, this is a fair catch.
Yeah, did you see the fair catch where Agnew's about to fair catch it, and he comes running up and he goes, flinch, and he says the B word to him, and the Fox broadcast caught it up. Appreciate that. I want to hear that. And Agnew kind of looked at him like, what
are you doing, bro? Oh,
yeah.
Okay, that's what we're doing.
Oh, okay.
But like Trent Sherfield, great. I mean, the defense was just absolutely phenomenal today, but a lot of that can be credited to the San Francisco 49ers offense and them taking care of business, as you elegantly put it out. It's time for our offensive straight beast of the game. I had a wow, that's bold prediction, folks. I made one. It was Brandon Aiyuk with 2 tutties and 100+ yards receiving, and I was darn close, and I was darn tootin' close to making that come true. But Brandon Aiyuk is back, folks. He is back. 8 catches, 80+ yards, a tutty, a very crucial tutty at that. It sat down in the zone in front of a lot of people, made an absolutely incredible catch. Back. He's rolling. The 49ers offense is rolling because of his elevation as well. It makes it that much harder to contain and cover in space. You want to bracket Deebo Samuel? That's fine. You're going to leave Brandon Aiyuk one-on-one. You want to bracket, George Kittle? Well, then you're going to leave situations for Brandon Aiyuk and Deebo to torch you. And if you're the Rams, right? You're the Rams. If you're just going to stick your best cover guy on Brandon Aiyuk all game long, then you're going to let Deebo Samuel feast all over you. Whatever your game plan is, Brandon Aiyuk is a solution for you, because if teams don't want to take him away, he'll beat you. And if you focus too much attention on him, we're going to beat you in other areas. Brandon Ayuk's time to shine was today, and he came out in big force.
He really did. And, my straight beast offensive player of the game is going to be Nick Bosa. I'm just kidding. No, I'm going with Deebo Samuel. I thought Deebo Samuel, what he added to this football team, going through the run game, doing what he needed to do to help, had a nice pivotal catch over the middle, but it was really about using his versatility to defeat Jacksonville and him being able to fill in for Elijah Mitchell and do the things that Jeff Wilson's not capable of doing. He picked up the mantle and did those things. He did great for this football team. His vision, the way he runs with physicality. He's a running back and a wide receiver both. There is times in this football game where I literally said, wow, he's the best running back on the team and he's the best wide receiver on the team. He's a dynamic football player that needs to be in the conversation for MVP and for sure in the conversation for Offensive Player of the Year. There's not very many players in this league, if any, that can do the things that he can do, especially not to the level that he can do it. So the emergence of him has been very nice to see, and he's a big-time player in this league.
Huge player in this league, and absolutely huge. These two together are a wonderful complement to one another. I know in some channel member live streams, I may have made some comments about a potential trade scenario that involved Brandon Aiyuk in the offseason, and I'm willing to bite my tongue and never mention it ever again, because I don't want this guy going anywhere. I want these two to stay together forever.
Oh, you're back on the train now.
First off, I've been on the train, but the idea was if he's going to continue to struggle the way he has, you can ship him off, get a piece in here to help this offense be a little bit better. If he's going to continue being this version of himself, then let's just keep him in with the mix. Let's find another way to bring this gentleman in that I'm referring to in that live stream. So all of you channel members, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And the rest of you here, the normal YouTube subs, you'll find out in the offseason we do our video on this and talk about this trade scenario. But I'm fine with keeping him here with Deebo Samuel, adding another wide receiver 3, or even bringing in a guy who can essentially compete at the wide receiver 1 spot. And if BA is your wide receiver 3, in terms of what he adds to your team or what he adds in terms of the route running and all that, then good luck, NFL.
Yeah, I think it's pick your poison now with Deebo and Brandon Aiyuk. And then you have George Kittle as well, who's a dynamic player at the tight end position.
Yep.
If not the best, he's one of the, top 3 in the league. And you got these guys to consistently go out there and do that. And Brandon Aiyuk can win one-on-one matchups. Early in the season, he wasn't. Now he is. And now he's getting featured, he's getting the football, and he's winning. That's what you need. Deebo Samuel opened some of this stuff up, but what he does, with his game and his skill set. But these two are not in competition because they're different players.
100%.
Everyone wanted to talk about who was wide receiver 1. It doesn't matter. These two guys are together. They're different weapons. They're used in different ways. They play different positions. And Kyle Shanahan just looks at them that way, and he plays them in that facet, in that avenue. And I like it. I'm excited about what I'm going to see from these guys for the rest of the season.
Joint presser after the game. Joint great beast offensive players of the game here for the 49ers cutback. Tip my hat to the both of you. You did an absolutely incredible job. Kyle Shanahan doing an absolute incredible job of creating this blueprint, and the 49ers doing an incredible job of executing it start to finish. This is 2 weeks in a row, Ant, where I can comfortably say the 49ers played a complete football game for 2 straight weeks, and now you turn your attention to the Minnesota Vikings and what they got going on over there with Adam Thielen, with Dalvin Cook, with Justin Jefferson, with Kirk Cousins, and on their defensive side of the ball, they got some questions with their cornerback room. So the 49ers, if you're going into this game, you feel very comfortable about, number one, we've forced a lot of teams to have to force their secondary players to be able to come up and run support and make plays. There's some question marks there for the Minnesota Vikings, and there's question marks in coverage. 49ers are going to come up with a nice game plan this week to take advantage of it, and we can't wait to talk with you about all of it. So make sure you're subscribed. If you haven't already, hit that notification bell. And if you want to see all 22 film breakdowns of this game against Jacksonville, if you want to see all 22 film previews of the Minnesota Vikings versus the Green Bay Packers from this past week, make sure you hop over to Patreon because we're going to be breaking that down all week long.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting week, and this week has got a big holiday right in the middle, so it's gonna change up the schedule a little bit.
Just a little bit.
We're gonna get out as much content as we can, and it's gonna be a fun week. I'm excited about the prospects of the 49ers winning, and it's all about 49ers versus Minnesota once we get early, or towards the middle of this week. But I'm sure early on it's gonna be a lot about 49ers, getting this big victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars, 3-4, and on the right track, in control of their playoff destiny, and in control of where they want to go with the season, which is to the playoffs. Once you get there, it doesn't matter what your record was. None of that matters. All it's about is executing in that football game and winning. So you just want to take it to the dance, and once you do, as long as you have the best boogie, you can win.
That's all about the boogie, Ant. It's all about the boogie, and the Niners are boogieing their way to over 500. How many of you thought that was going to be said?
Me.
I mean, I know you and I did. I know a good chunk of the Cutback crew did as well. But there's some of you out there. You know who you are. You were a little concerned. Well, get back on board. The 49ers ain't going anywhere. This season isn't anywhere close to being done yet. And we'll see you on the next one. And until then, stay safe.
Remember, the right way
is always the 49ers way.